I'm super excited to have Team Peterson Jackson with me, Towanna and LaShawn, who I've had the pleasure of getting to know over the last couple of years at all of our masterminds. They hail from Detroit, Michigan, and crush it with hundreds and hundreds of transactions a year. And one of the reasons I love hosting the podcast is hearing the backstory. Right? When an agent sees that you guys did over 300 units in 2024 and on track to do the same in 2025, they go, I don't, that's not even in the realm of possibility. I'm stuck at like 10 or 11 or 12. So either one of you jump in, take us back to when you got into real estate, maybe even before that, where you, wherever the story begins as you tell it, so people can have some context as to how you got to where you're at today. And you were kind enough to jump on a recording from the Fountain Blue in Vegas at the Zillow Unlock conference because you crushed it with Zillow Flex. And I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow at the same event.
And we're super excited to see you tomorrow, Leo.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here today. And this is the highlight of our Vegas trip so far.
That's hard because I know you went to a good concert last night. So I appreciate
Yes, we did. Let's see. For me, my journey into homeownership actually started as a child, just watching my grandparents, enjoy the joy of home ownership and what it meant to my family. Like my grandparents' place was a place that our family, it was our family home. All the grandkids, we spent the night there. All our family dinners and barbecues, everything was there. And I just remember the pride of home ownership and my grandfather burning his mortgage, and it was a big party. So it got instilled in me as a child, and I purchased my first home at 19. And I just didn't know that there was other ways to live in a house. I thought you had to buy it. So it took me, like I said, I was a teenager before I knew. So home ownership has always been a part of who I am.
Yes, and I would say my parents are first generation homeowners in our family, and I was super excited, just to help bring that to other families. It wasn't anything that was, hey, we did this before anybody. It was just something that I thought, everyone experienced. Everyone parents owned a home. Everyone parents went to work. Everyone parents had cars. Even though I would see that everyone didn't have things like that. I just thought it was a normal part of life. I always tell my team and all my friends that I made all my mistakes as an adult. So the whole poverty part of life, yeah, I did that to myself. It wasn't something that someone did to me. So I had to, back in about 2004 or 5-ish, I got into what was the rates when you were about to purchase a home, and then they would bloom and blow up and balloon in the arm rate. Oh man, I was in that first round, and I also was a person who had to get out of it, had to file a bankruptcy. So I had to, I had everything, and then I lost everything, and then I spent the rest of my life trying to show people that they didn't have to go through what I went through in my 20s and 30s.
So
what was the process? Was there a career before real estate for either one of you? How did you end up in this crazy world of real estate?
Absolutely. So I have a master's degree in public administration, a bachelor's in business management. I was working for the state of Michigan right around the time that I met LaShawn. And I would always tell her, like, hey, I know I look kind of rough right now because a lot of my Army injuries had started to come up at that time. I was driving an hour and a half to work. My back was terrible. My knees, everything was falling apart at the time. And she said, well, if you were in the military, Towanna, I think the military is supposed to take care of you. You should try and see, if they'll help you and get your life together. I was like, well, I don't think they do that with John. And she said, yeah, you should try. And so she was the first person that I met that really cared about me on the physical, mental, everything. And she allowed me because LaShawn had a great career in IT at the time, and she worked for a stock brokerage firm. She said, go home, stay home, and I'll take care of you, in so many words, and you get your health together. And I did that for about a few months, and I got really, really bored. I was like, I don't understand how people stay at home. So she said, well, maybe take your real estate class, Tawanna, and see how that goes. I was going to be a real estate agent before I went into IT.
Let me interrupt. She was running a whole community center out of our house, Leo. I would come home. It would be children there. She would be doing taxes. I mean, she would be solving the world problems from our dining room table. I said, since you want to be so helpful, let's make some money from it.
Something like that.
Well, and I think the one commonality I've seen in this career is the most successful folks are part of the community, right? They're the advisors, the interpreters, and the guides for a lot of folks in their community.
Yes. Right. She would be doing college applications, all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, we had a neighborhood community center.
I just wanted to help. So, and I stood behind that. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to help people. So I took my real estate exam, and I read the statistics because I'm always looking at, okay, so what's this real estate about? What can we do with it? In the class, I remember the instructor saying, oh yeah, if I want to put a roof on the house, I just sell a house. If I want to take my family on vacation, I just sell another house. And so I raised my hand. I said, so how much can you make as a real estate agent? Oh, she said, oh, it's unlimited, honey. You can make as much as you want. I said, well, your as much as you want might be different from as much as I want. So do you have a number that we could talk about? And she said, there is no number. The sky is the limit. It's all about the effort you put in. So I went home and I said, I'm just going to give 100% effort and see what happens. And here we are. LaShawn came and joined me, 6 months later, because I was like, LaShawn, it's too many people. It's too many clients. I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
For me, I had my license back in the late night, like 99, 2000. I had got licensed because I was working in an office with a bunch of older women, and they all wanted to be real estate agents. And they was like, you're the smart one. You're coming with us. So they took me with them, and I was the only one to get the license. So I got licensed, but I was at a pitchfork in the road with my career. I was going into IT. I had just got my degree. I was going into IT. And I said, well, if this IT thing don't work out, then I can do real estate, because I was buying investment properties and things like that. So I did choose IT. And like I said, I had like a 23-year career in IT. Started like help desk, ended a project manager. So at the time when Tawanna got licensed, she came to me and was like, hey, I need some help. And I was like, no, got a job, got a good job. I did everything that I was supposed to do. Went to school, got the good job, but I had, my house was paid off. Like everything was going well for me. No one bothered me at my job. It was smooth. I was like, I don't want to do it. And she was like, hey, I really need some help. So one day during lunch, she picked me up. And at this time, we was at a brokerage that gave you paper checks. She went in, got her check, and I was sifting through the check, and I saw my bonus. My holiday bonus was in one of her checks. And I was like, well, I suppose I could get licensed.
Told her I needed help, Leo. It was checks. Who had checks at the time? I didn't know anything about checks. So. My money coming in the bank account.
And so what year was that, for context?
2016.
It was Christmas of 2016.
Yeah.
Because
so it was after the financial crisis. The market was relatively stable because Detroit was pretty beat up during the financial crisis. Yeah. But by 16, it had recovered very nicely.
No,
so
not for Detroit. Remember, we went into bankruptcy in 2014 in Detroit. So we were just trying to, and for anybody who's been through bankruptcy, you're just trying to claw yourself out, right after. So when we came into it, a lot of the programs in 2016 were taking hold.
Yes.
The down payment assistance programs to help people get into homes. But I think that one thing that politicians have a little bit incorrect is that, yes, we do need the money at a lot of these programs, but you need the education to go with that. And that became the mission of Team Peterson Jackson, was to make sure that we educated to get the down payment assistance. And that's how we were able to sell the hundreds of homes per year, is that we would do it in conjunction with home buying seminars, or going out to schools to career days and talking to the children and their parents about home ownership and how, yes, you can own a home. Detroit was still undervalued. Yeah. Our average sales price at the time was what?
About 40,000, but
50. So
even more so than that, when we first started, it was like 4 mortgages written in the city of Detroit. 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 2016 it was like 4.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an uphill battle, and I'm just such a numbers person. So I was just consumed with the numbers and just making sure that we made an impact. And that was like the first time in modern history that Detroit had more renters than homeowners, because we have single family homes. We don't have a lot of apartments. We don't have a lot of duplexes because of the auto industry. Everybody
Mhm.
can afford what he wanted for the city, and the city planners, everybody had a home driveway, so we didn't have, I mean, if you didn't own a home, you pretty much was stuck in like the government project. So
Right.
most people bought homes. So now these people were renters. So it was just our mission to change that.
And
And
so,
so,
Tawana, you're the one who jumped in first. What was like the first 10 customers? Was it how 0 to 1 is where most people get lost, right? Because that's actually the
Yeah.
hardest thing
mhm.
getting into your business. Like once you get to 20, 30 transactions, you have a pretty high survival rate. It's that first, death valley to get to the other side.
The first clients, of course, were friends. They came directly out of my sphere. It was people who were, I'm gonna give you a shot type.
Mhm.
And walk us through that first script, because I think for any agent listening who's brand new and just saw you guys crush it on the big stage at Miami, what do you say when you have no experience? You both had very great careers prior to, but when you get that license and you jump into entrepreneurship, you're starting from zero. What was that first call to your friends who said, "I'm going to give you a shot"? What did you say to them to
So, so like most agents, I was afraid. I was afraid to make that call because Tawana has done so many things and so much. So I felt kind of like, okay, so now, I'm selling houses. So, it's going to be something else in a year and a half. And I didn't want that. I wanted this to be like my thing. So I did it. I would say not in a coward way. At the time, I thought maybe I'm going to do it. I'm going to go on another way around it without just writing your face, I'm an agent, give me a shot, is I did social media. And I didn't have many friends. I like LaShawn had a ton of friends on Facebook. I didn't have as many. But I said, if I could use this platform that I'm in here joking, I'm laughing, and I'm interacting with people, I'm going to use that platform. And I remember going to my broker at the time and was like, I'm going to sell all my houses on social media. And her saying that that's not going to work. I was like, why not? I just bought a car off there. I know I can sell a house. I just bought a car from, a Facebook post. So if they're selling cars, if we're selling concert tickets, if you could buy food, if you could buy clothes, why can't we purchase a house? And I just started hitting everybody the DMs. I was in a bunch of Facebook groups, and in those groups, make a joke, make a joke. By the way, buy a house. Make a joke, make a joke. By the way, I'm still selling houses. And it came from those conversations. So my first 10 came very, very quickly. Yeah.
I love that. There's one of my favorite books is called Talk Like Ted. Talk Like Ted, which is it's a review of like I think the top 1,000 most watched TED Talks. And there's actually a formula, and there's like an ideal length, which is about 18 minutes. But when you look at the formula, it's storytelling, mostly infused with comedy, right? And it's almost like an 80-20 split, where I think most of us just want to be human beings and interact with other human beings. And yes, they need to know you're competent and know your stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like they want to know they're interacting with a human being who's got, real problems, real story versus like they're just talking to an avatar, right? And so, in Gary Vaynerchuk, he'd call it jab, 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 then right hook, right? Where you're giving, giving. And in the way you described it is you're just being a friend. You're being someone they can have a relate to. And then, oh, by the way, I actually know what I'm talking about, right? So I think when it's easy when I see people social and it's just like, just listed, just sold, under contract, award. It's like, you just scroll right past it, right?
You got to give them a story. You got to tell them what was the thing. Another thing that I did in the beginning, and LaShawn didn't like it so much, but I used to drag her along. We would go in the worst houses in the city, and then not by design. I just people call me, hey Tawana, I want to buy my first, investment property. I got $10,000. I know like five $10,000 houses. Go look at them. Well, $10,000 houses look terrible. And then I would have a story about my day of in those terrible houses. And so people would tune into the story. And by the way, I know the perfect person to help you, to help my mom or my cousin sell their house. So a lot of that was just getting out of our way and telling stories.
Yeah. Definitely, storytelling was a big part of how we built our business because by then, by the time that when we got into business, I was on my third home. So I would tell the story in different ways of how I bought each one of my homes. Like the first time I purchased it through the first home was a land contract at 19, knew nothing about the home buying process. People love that story. The second time I talked about when I actually did get a mortgage, and then the third time I bought during the crash, I bought a house that I probably never would have been able to own had I not saved some money, right? But it was a beautiful house in suburban Detroit. I was able to buy for cash. And that was like my third home. And they watched me fix it up, So they knew, a lot of people already knew my story. And they believed in what I believed in. So they knew that I was a true believer in home ownership and the dream. So for them to transition to us as their realtor was a no-brainer for them. Towanna and I were doing 100 deals a year for before we even started the team. We were working hard because
So let's go from year one where you did, tens of houses
yes,
to 100, by the way. I tell people going from 10 to like 30 is harder than 30 to 100.
Absolutely.
yes.
So tell us how you did, what niches, like what specializations, because again, you don't sell 300 plus homes without having some very specific kind of systems and processes like, hey, I'm the expert at this. Walk me through some of those specializations, and which could have very easily, shifted as well as you learned another one. But tell me a couple that have worked or are currently working for you in your business.
It was the first time home buyers in the home and doing all the workshops that did it. And the number two thing is we started meeting investors. We met an investor who had hundreds of clients in South America, and we started working for him. I mean, we were doing his rentals. We learned how to flip. We learned how to we can build a house for real, Leo. I mean, we learned so much by working with these investors. So we were purchasing the properties for them, then we would renovate them, and then we would either sell or rent them out. So that helped too with volume, along with our first time home buyer business. So we were pumping.
Then we did referrals. And I know because you've seen us around at a lot of the EXP events and things like that. LaShawn and I believe in going to networking events. The very first thing you're going to get at a networking event is you're going to get the education, right? That's why you're there. You want to learn the systems. You want to see what the top producers are doing, but you also want to meet the people. And every event I have went to, I have gotten a referral from an agent there or multiple agents.
And do you have a script for that? So I think people again get kind of lost in the 0 to 1. What do you guys do when you're at events that creates one referral at a minimum per event? Because that's a really high statistic.
It is, and I didn't even believe it until I went to one that I didn't know anybody, and I went by myself, and I was like, okay, this is going to be worth it. Me being away from my family, me doing this and saying yes, is going to be worth it because I'm purposely looking for that referral partner here, and so I went around, I spoke to everyone, and my script, not necessarily a script, but my purpose was to find out what was their connection to Michigan.
And certain cities we know have connections. Las Vegas has a connection. Right. Houston has a connection. Atlanta has a connection. So the Carolinas have a connection. So we look for people who have the connection.
And if you find that person who has the connection, they're more likely to have a referral. You're more likely to create a referral partnership there. Mm-hmm. So if I would hear things, and I teach this to my class that we talk about the forward questions. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm. But go ahead and share it with everybody who doesn't know.
Okay, so we talk about family. We're going to talk about something surrounding occupation,
Mhm.
Business,
your relationships or business,
recreation.
your recreation, and then D, your dreams and or desires. And so
Mhm.
just having those kind of conversations with people, and keeping that center. So if I go up to them, hey,
Mhm.
so okay, kids, wife, husband, or where are you originally from? Most people are never from where they are. So if we're in Vegas. Oh yeah, I'm not originally from Vegas. I'm from Chicago. We're close because Chicago is only what 4.5 hours from Detroit. So if you're from Chicago, I know you've heard of Detroit. Oh yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I got a cousin that. So that becomes the connection, and we talk
Mhm.
about things like that. And it has worked. I swear everywhere. It has worked everywhere.
The conversations are a little bit longer than, hey, send me a referral type
Yes.
conversation.
Well, that never comes out of your mouth.
Yes.
It
So
never does.
we never
And
ask.
that
Never.
and that's a good point because I think so many people are like, okay, I need to ask for referrals. No, you need to create a long lasting relationship.
That's it.
Right. And we follow up. We send them an email. We send a text. It was so nice, wonderful to meet you. So we definitely send follow up. And then we see these people at different events. So and then a lot of them have actually become our friends.
Yeah.
So we just not out here just looking for the referrals. We're looking for relationships and connections.
So talk to me about, you said you were doing 100 houses, just the two of you.
Yes.
When did you decide to build a team? Because being a team leader is a completely different business. Then you're now in a leadership human capital business versus selling homes.
So we came to EXP in 2019, October of 2019. So when we came to EXP, we brought like 6 people with us. Um, so we started, it was a whole new system for us. So all of us started training and learning EXP together. And we got a little office. It was probably about 300 square feet. And we were all stuck in that little office together, just teaching each other the ropes and, learning the EXP business model. And then the pandemic happened, right? So we all on lockdown. We started having these Zoom meetings, and we just started having people join us because we were teaching and they were learning, and the word was spreading about what we were doing. And before I know it, we had like 60 people. And once we were able to get back into the office, we went and got a bigger office. But we were holding all these classes. We were doing all of this. We was teaching everything from contracts to script practice. We were doing all of these things we called it our collaboration. We had a downline, we called it the real estate collaboration. So we were doing all these things that a team was doing, unbeknownst to us. We didn't know. We were just, sharing knowledge, but we had a schedule, we had a regular cadence, and we were still getting agents. They were coming by the droves to join our collaboration because there was nothing like it in our city. There was nowhere that people really cared about your business and really cared about you being knowledgeable. So we grew out of that. And then Towanna and I, our business was still pumping. And we started giving out referrals to the agents in our downline. And we were operating as a team. And someone just told us, like, you're a team. I'm like, no, we're not. They were like, yes, you are. I was like, no, we're not. And they was like, yeah, you're a team, but you're not really benefiting from it. So we became a team it took us till 2022 to start the team. We started the team in 2022, and it was kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. I didn't, it was some things that happened. Like I kind of took it from my corporate background. When we were doing splits, we went the corporate way. But this is your split. This is your split, and this is how we're going to do this. And I didn't think that. So they went and started talking to each other about the splits. And then I had a little mutiny on my hands. Why is her split different from my split? Why is this going on? And before I knew it, I lost a few team members because they were upset. And I was like, wow, in corporate America, we never would have done that. Would have never happened.
It's in corporate, baby.
No, that's published. It. Everyone has the same opportunity. So let's talk about Team Leader Academy, which is a program we rolled out,
Yeah.
and I know that you guys have flourished in it and even brought us some tools that we adopted. So tell us about that, because the team leader journey. And by the way, that's why we designed Team Leader Academy, right? Because there is no college degree on building a team. So we attempted to do it, by the way. That was the goal, where we could take someone like you who's very successful as a solo producer, domestic partnership, and then move into the team leader journey, if you will. Because, and by the way, I'm quick to always pick on the teams, as you know. I'm like, look, just don't have a team for the sake of it, because solos and or domestic partnerships net more money.
They do.
Yeah.
So if you go into the team leader realm, it's because you want to scale and or get time back.
Correct.
So with us, we ended up, before Team Leader Academy, we traveled across the country to team leader academies, to team leader school, because I don't like failing at anything, and I don't like not knowing how to do something. So I felt like I need to learn how to do this. And some of the, it's a guy who was doing leadership. He called it Lead Up, and we went and we learned so much about running a team, and it helped us tremendously. And I was telling a couple of people at EXP, including Susan McLean, like, oh my God, this was amazing what we learned. And, it helped us so much with running our team and, being with the transparency piece and just being better leaders in general. And then next thing I know, the Team Leader Academy came about, and we were in the inaugural class.
I would say so, because I don't know if Leo remembers, but you and Susan were in Detroit. And I had stepped outside and I was standing on the terrace, and you was like, Towanna, is there anything I could do for you? I was like, yes, you can help me with this team.
I remember.
Yes. Yes.
And that's when Susan was like, oh my God, Towanna, I'm working on something. I was like, well, you better hurry up. Because I think I had missed, like, LaShawn was on stage. I missed the whole thing because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with it. She's complaining. I never like when she's complaining about anything. I'm like, Susan, please, you got to help. And then that's when shortly after, we got the
team. I went and grabbed Susan.
Yeah.
I said, hold
yes. Yeah.
You was like, I got somebody for you. I'm like, oh my God, no one's going to help me. And you got me the best help ever. So that was
because
great.
Running a team is something that you need help.
You need
help. It cannot be done out of ego. If it's out of ego or any other reason, except a desire to, like you said, to scale and help agents achieve their goals, you're not going to make it. It's difficult, right? So with Team Leader Academy, it helped us to get so many things into focus, including our business, like with EOS, like running on a business system, and off of slips of paper, and instead of being reactive, being proactive.
100%. So tell me about how it went afterwards, because I think you've experienced like even higher success than most folks who graduate from TLA.
Do you think we had more? I don't know. I don't think it was.
It helped us fine tune our systems for sure.
We did.
Because out of that, the onboarding, we got our onboarding system together. Because before that, we were just following really, and there's nothing wrong with EXP onboarding, but we were really just following that model. But it's just so many things that an agent needs to know, to be productive, from doing a CMA to actually writing out their goal plan, to even how to conduct a proper open house. Like, so we had to put everything in our onboarding is step one, transfer your license, all the way up to the last thing you do is your 6-month goal plan. So everything in between is in our onboarding plan. Like, we don't miss anything. And so an agent that comes to us, they know exactly what they should be doing and when they should be doing. They never can be sitting idle like, oh my God, I don't know what I should be doing right now. Well, like I said, we have an app. If you go to the app, it has everything step by step. And then we have reinforcement meetings once a week where the agent can come in and get some help with anything that they're having a problem with on onboarding.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we were able to develop and fine tune through Team Leader Academy, and actually working with other team leaders and listening to the things that work for them. So that was a big piece for us.
Yeah. Having that support from that mastermind that you did with the top 250, that helped tremendously.
Oh my goodness.
From the very first meeting, you were like, hey, I want to try this. And I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. Leo's calling, we gotta go. So
Yes.
they're the people that we met there. And at first we're all kind of like scared. Oh, I don't want to tell my secrets. And then one person shares and was like, well, I did this. And then it just, everyone else starts throwing it out. Like, well, I tried this, Tawanna. Have you heard of Maverick? Have you heard of White Lopo? And all these great tools that we have
Yeah.
out here. And they're willing to say, okay, well, try this. How do you guys feel about Flex? Is it in Detroit? We didn't know anything about Zillow Flex until we went to one of these team leader academies. I'm sorry, one of the masterminds that you have for your top 250 teams. And that is when the magic started really happening for us and taking our team life to a different level. Having a schedule for them to follow, having the systems in place, having the reports. That's what we're working on right now, is having that dashboard for the agents so they know exactly what they're doing. We have, your onboarding one, and we have your goals of you have to dial this many calls per day in order to get this many deals. But we're looking into, even on the minute thing, how many emails do I have to send to get one person to just respond? So we've been just hitting all those KPIs, looking at them and trying to make the agent have a better business model to carry forth. One of an agent that I spoke to, he came to a meeting and he said, Tawanna, I talked to about 5 or 6 agents who are no longer in the business. I said, well, why aren't they in the business? He said, no one taught them how to be a business owner. I said, okay, well, we'll start working on that. And that's a thing that we have been, working with our agents to try to get them to think more like business owners and less like just a real estate agent.
And another thing Team Leader Academy did for us, it did help us, like, we had all these mega team leaders opening up their playbooks and sharing so freely, and we've been able to give the same thing back. Like, I have never been a part of anything where people just open up and share so freely. This is what you need to do. This is what's working for us. And when Tawanna and I got to the point where we can give that back, that was like a crowning achievement for us.
Yeah.
And I think one reason why people don't mind sharing, because especially with us, we're always in a state of continuous improvement. Like, what I give you today is not what I'm going to have next week, because I'm always continuously improving my processes and procedures and rewriting my playbook. So,
well, as a closing thought, what niches or opportunities you would say you're excited over the next 6 months, 12 months, 24 months that you guys are testing? And again, the fun part is, like, in a year from now, you might have implemented, or you're like, yeah, that didn't work out. But I always like seeing where do you think the world is going? And that, most of this conversation was evergreen, but this is the November of 2025. What are you excited to test and try out in 2026, 2027?
So I'm most excited. A couple of things. I'm really excited about the NIL, the name, image, and likeness part of the business that we have started. We have a couple of agents on our team who are coaches, basketball, football, cheerleading coach. And these kids are starting to get scholarships and money for their name, image, and likeness
millions
from
of dollars.
millions, ridiculous amount of money, and they're getting this in high school. I think, or right before college, high school. So I think about, like, 17-year-old Tawanna, 16-year-old Tawanna. Could someone have handed me $1 million and I've been okay? No, probably not. Even 30,000. What could my life be? And so we're talking to them about financial management and planning and who should be in your corner and how to identify who should be in your corner and how to identify when to kick them out of your corner. So that's something that I'm super excited about, with working with Coach Christopher Moore. We have Whitney Gore down in Houston, who is a part of it. And just super excited about handling that. And the other thing we're working on is financial literacy for our youth. That's something that LaShawn and I have really been excited about, and we're looking forward into stepping into that with our friend and also our, my BFF Jessica Vieto. So working on a piece with her as well. And what else you got? LaShawn is really she always looking for the new stuff, the AI and all of that good stuff. So
Yes, I'm definitely looking for some AI improvements in our systems, processes, and procedures. So I'm working with my brother-in-law on that piece. So he's digging deep into all of our processes and systems that we have now to see how we can get them to talk together better. So we're definitely developing that piece, and who knows, we might have something for sale soon to help other team leaders.
Yes.
But we're working hard on that, just to improve some of our pain points through AI. So
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. Thank you so much for showing up and sharing and everything that you do. And it's a pleasure to have you in all the masterminds. And I look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow.
yeah,
Right,
see you
Leo.
soon, Leo. Thank you.